Don't be afraid to push yourself in difficult times. Ask yourself if there are times in your life where you're not giving it your all. If so, remember, it's okay to work at it. It's not about perfection, but the promise of building up what you're capable of doing with time. Julie DeLuca-Collins. Welcome to Casa de Confidence, a podcast for you. You'll hear some incredible women
and some awesome, cool dudes
going confidently in the direction of their dreams and living in the purpose of their heart.
You're our host,
Julie DeLuca-Collins, and you are our sidekick. Hashtag handsome hot husband.
That again.
And the producer of the show.
That I am.
I am an author, speaker, coach, dreamer, and most of all,
we help people go in the direction of their dreams
and support them on their purpose. So pull up a chair,
grab a drink,
and make yourself at home because our casa
is your casa. Welcome back to Casa de Confidence. My name is Dan.
And I'm the quote lady.
You're the quote lady, Julie DeLuca-Collins.
Oh my God, Juju's staring at me.
Wow, we always do a quote, and this week
I quote it myself.
It's from you. Very
sometimes
nice.
I have moments of brilliance.
Oh, and wise counsel, it surely is.
Yes.
So,
that quote is in the Confident You book, by the way.
It is.
Simple habits to live the life you have imagined.
You can get it on Amazon.
Or you can send me an email and I'll send you a copy.
Yeah, she'll send you an e-copy. And,
that's correct.
You can read it electronically.
Yeah, see what I'm doing there? Building my email list.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. See?
Oh, my goodness.
Number 1 from your
Business Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Wow, what
you're
is
just
wrong here?
You're giving yourself accolades right now.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I have a headache, and perhaps, I get punchy.
You get a little punchy, and that's fine. And you know what? Even though you gave the accolade to yourself, you're very deserving of it.
Oh, well, thank you, Daniel.
I'm very proud of that.
See, you're usually the one who props me up.
Oh, no, you're are you your own believing mirror right now?
I am my own believing mirror. But by the way, here's the thing I'm going to tell you.
Yes.
Here's another quote. I almost said this quote.
Okay.
Sometimes the right person tells you the right story at the right moment. And through a combination of luck and design, a creative expression gains new force.
Like the Force?
No, like new force. You're not going to ask me who that quote is from?
Who's the quote from?
From Lin-Manuel Miranda. It's from Hamilton. Oh my goodness.
One of your favorite people.
Listen,
so
I have watched Hamilton on the Disney Channel several times this month.
Really?
Yeah.
After I go upstairs to bed?
Yeah. Either that or Taylor Swift Eras Tour.
You're turning into a regular Swiftie.
I sure am.
Anyway,
I liked
Julie,
her before, but now I'm really digging her.
No, she's a talent. She's very good at what she does.
A talent? Wow, you make it sound like she's randomly talented.
Oh, that's not what I meant. That's
okay.
Not exactly. Wow, see, you are a Swiftie because you're instantly defending her now.
No, you know what I am doing?
Yes.
I am trying to rewrite internalized misogynism and internalize masculinity.
Yeah, this past week you spoke about that.
I also spoke about Tall Poppy syndrome and Queen Bee syndrome.
What was the event that you were at, that you spoke at?
The Pioneer Valley Women's Conference.
That's in Springfield, Massachusetts.
That's right, because Springfield is closer to my house than other cities are.
Except for Hartford.
Except for Hartford.
Yeah.
But
so you know what?
Yes.
We were all over Massachusetts this week.
Oh my gosh, we were all over Massachusetts.
We were in Western Mass in Springfield, and we were in Eastern Massachusetts. We were at a meetup with the New England Podcasters Group.
Yes, we were. And it was freaking fantastic.
It was amazing.
Yes. And I have to tell you that I am so incredibly grateful that we have a community of like-minded, individuals
Like manded?
Like-minded individuals who are, loving podcasting, are creating amazing content for other people. And I'm just so grateful that Andy Lyons reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to be a part of the group? She also, it's going to be on the podcast. We have a scheduled interview. So I'm really excited about that.
Andy is delightful. It was great getting a chance to spend some time with her and with so many other people that were there. And this is the New England Podcasters Group. It's actually a newer organization, correct?
It is. She just started the group. And by the way, Andy's podcast is Don't Be Caged by Your Age. And I love that. Love it. Because she's very fun, by the way.
Yes.
And I'm all about shattering age barriers like she is. And, the reality is that it's never too late to dream a dream and live that dream, which it takes me back to this whole conference for women. I cannot tell you how many women in this world I keep meeting that are just rocking it, doing their thing, living their life. I also, by the way, there was a comedy show at the VIP night of the event, and I have never laughed so freaking hard. I am not like someone that really like goes all in on comedians at times, right? Because the comedy is like, that was funny, cute, but no, my goodness, this comedy show was so good, so good. I had a lot of fun, just overall. And you know what was really funny is she talked, the comedian talked about how her and her partner, spouse, wife, how when typically her spouse says to her, hey, why don't we go to the beach? It's going to be fun, right? And I was like, oh, I think I have these conversations with Dan all the time.
Yes, you do.
And then Jess was saying how every time her wife says, it's going to be fun, it means that it's not fun for her. And then I kept thinking how, I think this might be how Dan feels. Anyway.
You love the beach. And for me, going to the beach means we just go to the beach and sit there.
Yeah. So this is usually how this happens, right? So
and you read a book and I just
interrupt my reading.
Interrupt your reading.
And you're like trying to chat with me.
Having a conversation.
Like, no.
And normally you want a whole conversation.
Yes. Normally I do want to have a conversation.
The beach is not the time for conversation.
But, if I want to enjoy, I want to read, I want to have the sun in my face and perhaps, randomly, say one sentence and have another sentence and, but there are times when like you go with your girlfriends to the beach that it's time to like converse for sure.
That's
but
right.
There's also time for reading.
There is time for reading.
And
I just go there and no matter how much sunscreen I put on, I get like borderline heat stroke.
Borderline heat stroke?
I'm like whiter than white. The sun is my enemy in that type of situation. So.
Well, it is true. Hey, by the way, the comedian that I highly am raving about, her name is Jess Miller, and she is from Massachusetts. She's in Chicopee, by the way. Chicopee, not Chicopee.
I know it's Chicopee. It's a thing. If you lived here back in the 90s, you would know.
No, I don't.
There was a comedian who was on a radio show who used to say that.
Interesting.
So that was in Springfield.
That was in Springfield.
I want to throw a shout out and a thank you.
Sure, go ahead.
So when we did go to the podcast meetup,
yes,
it was at the Westford CAT. CAT stands for Community Access Television. And it was at the TV station. I want to thank Jack Wang for hosting us.
Yeah.
And that was...
What a cool place.
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to encourage the listeners that if you have a public access channel in your community, to go and check out how you can support it, because public access and public television are really creating awesome content as well and bringing you information and entertainment that may not necessarily be in the mainstream, but is nonetheless phenomenal. So
Yeah, and this is the thing. This is what they were saying about their community television is they're like the big source for news in their area.
they sure are.
So it's kind of a neat little thing they have going on. You go into these places and it opens up a whole nother world to you.
Yeah, they sure are.
So it's really cool.
Yeah, so I really loved meeting everybody from the New England Podcasters group. You know, they added a lot of listening to my podcasting time, because every single time that someone introduced themselves, I was like, "Oh, I need to listen to that podcast. Oh,
I know,
I need to listen to
right?
that podcast." And so overall, I have a full roster of what I'll be listening to because so much to talk about.
So, hey, you know what?
Yes.
We've gone like 10 minutes already. We haven't mentioned our guest today.
Well, this is why you keep me honest, and you get to introduce her then. So you'll get the pleasure of introduce our guest.
So our guest today is Raquel Reis. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Raquel, Julie.
First of all, I met her for an interview for the radio show. And once I got to know her, I said, you know, she's got to be on the podcast because she's great. She's a very empathetic person. And I really enjoyed first of all, this is how we chose this interview for today. Okay. Yesterday was Mother's Day. And all of us have a responsibility to create meaningful relationships with the people around us. And at times, you know, sometimes it doesn't go well, and we need guidance and we need support in how to be able to create better relationships with people. She's a relationship coach and an agent of love and partnership and wealth of information in both the scene of soul and what makes relationships work and thrive. And I know that there's many times in which in our relationships, we are not thriving. I know that many times in our relationships, we are not even sure how to communicate with other people. And we need to really get the right tools to, I don't know, how do I explain this? To be able to create helpful dialogue, to be able to not sabotage the interactions. And really, you know, for me, cognitive behavioral techniques and positive intelligence have been really instrumental in helping me know that I can't take things personally. You know, last week we talked about the betrayal that happens, and we talked that with Vanessa Cardenas, but there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of things that go into relationships, even good relationships, right? And being able to have quality relationships is part of self-care, is part of living a life of your dreams and being more confident.
Absolutely. So, you know, you were talking there and I was thinking that I heard you on an interview earlier today.
Did?
I don't know who you're talking to.
Okay.
But you're talking about how your personality type, my personality type, and sometimes, you know, we're in a relationship. Just in case audience doesn't know, we're married.
We're married.
12 years already.
12 years.
Amazing.
Best
Wow.
years of your life.
Goes by so
college.
fast. Best years of my life.
Best years of your life. Come with me.
So
I'll take you away. I'm sorry.
Come with me.
I knew you were going to break into song.
It's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory there.
Yes. Anyway.
So what I'm trying to say is, like, you'll speak one language, I'll speak the other one. And we realize that the other person doesn't always mean what you think they mean. And you know. Yes. You know, you'll do things one way, I'll do things another. Yeah. And that's all part of being in a relationship and understanding that. And understanding that you all have different ways of doing it. Yep. And you have to leave a margin there for that.
We have to leave a margin. And you know, and this is the thing. that when we come into a relationships, when we come into anywhere for that matter, we take ourselves there. And this is why the awareness of what our thoughts are is incredibly important, Dan. I think that at times that I am thinking that I'm not going to fit in, that I'm thinking that I'm belong, that I'm thinking I'm not good enough, are the ways in which I am already entering whatever room or relationship with a strike next to my name. Because I'm setting myself up for failure. Whereas if I'm entering with curiosity, with a beginner mindset, if I'm entering in there with the desire to, Alexa's reminding us to water my plants. Sorry, I got sidetracked.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Go ahead.
No, keep going. You're on a roll.
Till Alexa interrupted me, and I know the listeners can't hear it, but yeah. I think we need to remind ourselves, and here's the thing that I talked about during the conversation, during the event in Pioneer Valley. We have these innate behaviors and thoughts and things because they're part of our DNA. We also live in a society that perpetuates feeling like crap because we see somebody else doing the thing we want to and we think we don't measure up, or we only see the positive thing that is happening somewhere else. And then the news is throwing up all the garbage in our faces and we're navigating all of this. But here is the hopeful thing. We can rewire our brain. We talked about this with Barbara Aerosmith, right? The woman who rewired her brain. We can create a new narrative for ourselves. We can make the decision of who we want to be in the future and then act accordingly today. And it doesn't mean act perfectly. It just means take the first step in being the person that you want to be.
Are you trying to say you can teach old dogs new tricks?
Not really, because I've been trying to get the dogs to use the button that says treat. And apparently these old dogs are not getting it.
Don't call my dogs old.
We have 2 senior dogs. They're 11 years old. They're going to be 12.
Hey, they are spry, though. One's cranky. He acts old, but he acts old, but behaves young. No. He gets around like a young dog, physically, but he acts like an old dog. Old cranky pants. That's Yogi.
Yogi's not cranky pants.
Yes, really? He's whiny pants.
He's whiny pants. Simbi is the one who's like crabby pants. He doesn't let me clean his face.
Simba's the little general. And
he's the little general, of course.
The smallest one.
Yeah, he's got Napoleon syndrome. And then, of course, we have Chunks.
Napoleon, what?
And then, of course, we have Chunks.
And then we got Happy Boy Chunkalina.
Chunkalina. Oh, my God. We can't call him that. We're shaming him. We're fat shaming him.
We're not. I'm not shaming him.
Junior, we love you.
I say it in love.
And Chunkalino, he's so cute.
He's adorable.
He's
just so happy.
He's so happy. He's like, hello, hi, feed me. Okay, you don't want to feed me? I'll just smile at you. But when you're going to feed him, he does the freaking happy dance. He dances in circles like, oh my gosh, I've never eaten this. Please give me some food. This is amazing.
Oh my God, we are just all over the place today. You know what? We are a day late
but
releasing.
Never a dollar short.
I just have to share with the audience.
Yes.
I found a blind spot for Julie.
Oh.
And I satisfied filling that blind spot this weekend.
Wow, I don't even know what he's going to say. Oh, wait a minute.
Julie,
I know what he's going to say. He made me watch the Temple of Doom thing.
No, I didn't want you. Julie has never seen any of the Indiana Jones movies. So we watched the OG Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, that's what it was. It was in the Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom is next.
Well, give me about a month or so, Dan.
Temple of Doom has a lot of borderline non-PC kind of stuff.
So maybe I may not want to watch it.
Like, you know why? Because you'll want to see the actor who is having great success now. And I felt so much joy seeing him win his Oscar 2 years ago.
Yes.
His name is escaping me right now, but he's an Asian actor. And I just saw another movie he was in.
Really?
And he did a really good job. It was a Godzilla movie.
Oh. Wouldn't have watched that.
Actually, it was surprisingly good story. It's called Godzilla -1, and it's actually a very good story.
Sounds like a good story to me. All right.
Well, it was a Japanese Godzilla.
Okay.
Which they actually put time into the story, not into the special effects.
Okay. Do you see what's happening? There is always a time in which we sneak in the nerdiness into this podcast.
Oh
which
my God.
I love you.
I start getting nerdy, and she puts down the hammer.
Oh my gosh, I'm not putting down any hammers, but I did want to talk about something more important.
Okay.
Before we go into our guests, I want to tell the listeners that you are going to see me grow vegetables this summer.
I knew you were going there. She's growing vegetables.
Well, it was Mother's Day. And remember what happened last year when I decided to redefine myself and say that I couldn't call my plants victims anymore.
That's true.
That I was going to make them my children and nurture them. Yep. So now I am stepping in faith.
Ever since you stopped calling your plants victims,
they're thriving.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like a jungle in our living room.
So now I've decided that I need to also have a jungle outside. Well, not jungle, but just vegetables outside. So I was going to plant some stuff. And then Dan told me I needed a larger container. So I went in the search and now I have a larger container. So stay tuned.
Mm-hmm. I'm only giving you gentle direction.
And by the way, when I have vegetables, and if I live in Connecticut, feel free to come get some vegetables from me. I forgot what I planted already.
So anyhow, I think we've had enough of this. I think it's time to get on to the guest.
Yes.
So I am going to call it right here.
Call it.
Guys, keep listening. This interview with Raquel Reis and Julie is amazing. And actually, you guys talk about your TEDx a little bit. Kind of funny. And
kind of funny.
So,
and thank you to the listeners for tuning in and for being a part of our community and for being a part of our journey. Mm-hmm. I'm incredibly grateful to Dan and to you for making this podcast the home where we find confidence together.
Make sure you give love to the guest, Raquel Reis. It'll be in the show notes. Mm-hmm. Check her out. She's amazing.
Amazing. Well, thank you, everybody. Yay. Welcome to the show, Raquel. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I have to tell you that the listeners are in for a treat because you have a wealth of information when it comes to science and soul and what makes relationships work and thrive. You also help couples and individuals break free from patterns that are holding them back and turn their struggles around and make them simple shifts that impact everything. So we're going to deep dive into a lot of that and a little bit about you. You're a New Yorker, which, you know, we get giddy here when we have New Yorkers. But for the listeners who are just getting to know you, tell us a little bit about you. Did you picture yourself doing this when you were a little girl?
That is such a good question, Julie. Nobody's asked me that before. I don't know, but I certainly was, I definitely had a role of I was a little girl, probably not the best scenario in the world, but I was a little girl who helped my mom. I was an advisor to my mom in her relationship. And I remember that she would say that I should be a therapist. And long story short, it took many years until I actually embraced that this is something that I love doing. I was the oldest of several kids. I grew up in a household that was amazing in so many ways. And also we did not know how to love each other so well. So not a surprise that I had to learn some skills, and it's just my honor and my pleasure to bring them to people because it just opened my eyes and changed my life and changed all of my relationships, every single relationship that I have. So yeah.
I'm so glad that you said that you had to learn in your household didn't really know how to love each other. And by the way, I think that we feel that incredible attachment and have incredible feelings for those people that are closest to us, but loving each other and loving other people
it's work. It's not something that's that simple. How do we learn to really be able to embrace someone and not have them, really like have disarray in the relationship? Because relationships don't come with instructions.
No. Well, first of all, let's give some family credit, and including my own family, which is a very loving and very tight-knit family right now, and we've gone a long way. All of us have grown. I would tell you, like, two of my sisters are coaches and relationship coaches as well. So
amazing! You guys have done the work together. It seems like
we really have, including my dad. I'm very, very thankful for that. But I have seen families that, it's that are super supportive, super loving. But I think all of us have our blind spots. All of us have our blind spots. What we think is loving is not always the loving thing to do, and that's where people come to me.
Yeah.
So, can you repeat the question again?
I just want to explore for you. So maybe let's just talk about you and kind of dissect it that way. Is for you, what were some of the steps that got you in this path? Because again, it's not how you started, but you're here and you're doing some incredible work. You've done a lot of the required learning to get the right tools, right? To create meaningful and well, I shouldn't say meaningful, because we always have meaningful relationships, but to create this deeper level relationships.
I would say joyful, satisfying, strengthening relationship. I mentioned to you before we started speaking that I just listened to your TED Talk, and I would say that one of the things that jumped at me in your beautiful, thank you.
Thank you. You're so kind.
Oh, it is so inspiring. Everybody go and listen to her TED Talk just right after this interview. And but in your story, you've actually, you've mentioned how much feeling like you belong, feeling that you're a part of, influenced your confidence, influenced your expression. There is the longest study ever done by Harvard University is about the influence of our relationship on our life. And they show direct correlation by the quality of our relationship and every aspect of our life, health, longevity, success. So, and even I think you described, again, run and listen to the TED Talk. You described watching a marathon and a runner doing better when people were cheering her on, and then having more difficulties when she wasn't connected. So, I mean, even what you do, what I do, having groups, having support groups, just having loving, cheering eyes would change the trajectory of what you're doing. So relationships is the fabric of everything. We are herd animals. So my journey started with a friend, my dear friend Jasmine in LA, way before we were all on Zoom. She turned me on into a brilliant woman. Her name is Alison Armstrong, and she dedicated her life. She come from a science background, and she dedicated her life to studying the different ways that men and women relate to each other. And I have started taking classes with her and felt like my whole world has changed. She's really brilliant. I think her work is so important. And our brains just don't operate the same. We don't relate the same. We translate each other differently. So that was a whole journey. And I was on the line of LA, New York for several years, just taking all of the classes that I could. I did not think I would ever teach it myself. But really seeing all my relationship change with myself, with men, with women, with my dad, just complete new perspective, which actually brings me to one of the, I was thinking a little bit about speaking with you today. And one of the things that I think, we say communication is the most important thing in relationship. And I was thinking about it this morning. What's most important? And I'll be curious to know what you think about that. So I think in the coaching world, there's a big understanding that our thoughts create our reality.
Right.
And same goes for relationship. What we think about our relationship, what we think about ourselves, what we think about our partner is our relationship. It's not even affect our relationship.
Yeah.
That's the relationship.
It's interesting. So, I love this conversation because I think that this is the one pivotal moment for me in my own personal development journey, my growth journey, and the shift in my relationships. A lot of times, and again, the world teaches us that, that my friend hurt my feelings, or this happened to me. And the reality is that when I stopped assigning responsibility in my relationships for the outcomes to other people, and when I began to take responsibility for my actions, my thoughts, and realized that people were not in charge of my happiness. And I think that a lot of times when we enter relationships, partners or friendships, a lot of times, yes, our friends can bring us joy. The interactions that we have can create a level of belonging, right? But ultimately, we are really in charge of the relationship. And I know that I communicate better with my spouse, right? When I am really clear on, what is it that I need? And I don't have the expectation for him to, to be Prince Charming, right? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with having a Prince Charming in your life because he is pretty charming from time to time.
Always charming.
Yeah, but I think that communication is important, but you have to come at it from a very clear place where that, your words can, that can be I don't want to say trigger, but that can be the catalyst for, the next thing. And that we really control our reality, but with our actions. So I love this topic.
Yeah. I love what you're saying, and if I can soften one word a little bit, like we influence our reality.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So good.
Person,
okay. I love that. This is why you're the expert.
Because actually, when we try to control it, usually doesn't go so well.
It's true.
But it's true. But we can lead and we can influence. And when I say, and I mean, there's so many gems already. First of all, speaking like personal responsibility is absolutely one of the pillars of successful and good relationships, and also a commitment to happiness, a commitment to friendship, a commitment to solve this together as a team. So when I said what we think of the relationship influence everything, is when I think my partner is inconsiderate, I don't want to use curse words here, but is inconsiderate, unkind,
right?
There's a very specific conversation that will happen when I think my partner is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? Just a completely different orientation. So just knowing we're friends, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
I am so smart. I chose the best person.
That's so good. It's how we frame it. And I think that has a lot to do with, where we are. And I tell my clients all the time, and granted, I do, obviously, as a business coach, I do life coaching. There's I don't think you separate life and business. You can't. The reality is that as business owners, as coaches, or service providers, we bring ourselves to the table with everything that we're doing. So one of the things that I tell my clients is that when we are going through whatever it might be, right? Whenever things are happening, really, we are going to navigate and need to find, because, the world happens, snow is coming today, right? I can either allow that to have an effect in my life or not. I can actually also choose to say, oh, what a gift. I live in New England and it's going to be beautiful, right? Or I can say, oh God, there's snow coming. I have to go plow or, clean the sidewalk. Not that I do. My husband does that, but so this is what happens, right? And I think that the same thing in our relationships, we forget the playfulness. We forget to approach conversations with a lot of curiosity as well. And even in the tough conversations, and my husband and I call those courageous, candid conversations, we don't always want to have these with each other. But when we do, we bring ourselves to the table, and we do so in a way knowing that even if it's hard, there's going to be a gift, and we need to look for the gift and having this conversation.
I love it. I love how courageous the two of you are, because you obviously have the play part in your relationship, but I can really hear how committed you are to having full, honest, transparent conversations.
Yeah. And by the way, I want to also, because I don't want people to think that, Dan and I have this like wonderful, perfect relationship. We don't. Oh my God, we are so different. And and you put the stubborn person in the relationship, raising my hand, not talking about Dan. And it's like, yeah, you have to be committed to the outcome. And we both come from families that loved one another, but also we come from, his mom was a single mom. She became a widow very young, or when Dan was very young. And I come from a divorced family. We both had first marriages that ended in divorce. And again, at least for me, I speak for myself, that was not the right person for me, but it taught me the lessons that make me a better wife today.
I love it so much. And I love everything that you're saying. Can I, a few things, I feel like a few things
popped this is about you. So take it away.
I want to talk about difficult conversations.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I also want to talk about perspective. So there is a decision. Obviously, there is a decision. But I will tell you that also, just by getting some education, you don't even have to work hard at making that decision.
Yeah.
When you start understanding, and I know we started my story and then we never finished. I'm going to be very brief about it. So it started with Alison Armstrong. I was in an amazing relationship, just like such a beautiful friendship and partnership. And then the relationship ended. And I was stuck. Here I was with all of my huge appetite and curiosity to making relationship work with someone I adored. I loved him. He loved me. We were great friends. We had a beautiful life together. And then we got into some differences and we could not navigate through them.
Yeah.
So when that relationship ended, I threw myself, and I've just studied everything that I could. Positive psychology, attachment style, how the brain works in times of stress, light bulb after light bulb after light bulb, all the missing parts. So this is where I'm here to bring to the world, just like there's things that make relationship work. There's things that doesn't. And oftentimes it's actually our very well-meaning intention of trying to make it work that creates the opposite. So here we are with the best of intention, just like creating the opposite of what we want. So since you mentioned difficult conversations, there is a science for conversation, and they might be difficult in the beginning, but once you make it a habit, just like everything else, it's not that difficult. And we actually, in the relationship coaching world, we're having a joke of, what are you going to do with all this time that you have now that you don't have conflicts? Where differences are just differences, and you face it as a team, and you're like, okay, how are we going to make it work for us and not against us?
Yeah.
And usually there's a huge strengths in your differences. So,
100%. You are so right in that. Walk me through the process, because I'd love for, number one, learn and get better at it. But also I know the listeners are really chomping at the bit to hear this.
Yeah. So first of all, just in terms of a perspective, one of my favorite saying is, conflict is growth wanting to happen. So
good.
So many of us think this is the end. This is a dead end. This is where it doesn't work. It's actually an opportunity to know each other better, to get the friendship works better, get our differences work better. And I can take it in a million directions, but I'm going to first go into just the mechanics of a conversation. So the Gottman Institute, which is one I mentioned Harvard University. Gottman Institute, one of the leading institute in the science of long-term relationship and what makes them work. Identify a few things that make relationship work well. So the first thing that I'm going to mention is, usually we think the problem is whatever is the problem, the issue. And so many times it's actually how we talk about it. It's not actually the issue. It's how we talk about it. So just having an orientation of curiosity about it already makes a difference. The other element is, it's usually a problem of connection. Usually because when we feel really connected and really loving and really secure, something comes up. It's not hard to solve it. When we are already accumulating resentments, we haven't spent time together, our brain is just like, we go to survival, fight or flight. We forget we're on the same team. So just remembering we're on the same team, a lot of time couples will come to me, and the first few sessions, all we're doing is reestablishing connection. We're not even starting to talk about the issue because it's just not going to go well.
I agree.
Yeah. But then just in terms of there are simple, predictable ways of knowing how a conversation will go well. And by the way, this goes for every conversation you have in business, work. So soft starts. Start with an appreciation. Start by actually looking for what is good in the situation. What have they done that is actually good? Like, how do they contribute to your life? What do you think is happening? And sometimes you have to dig hard.
Absolutely.
You're really upset.
Do have to dig hard. And by the way, I love that. I know that at times, especially my character, right? I just want to get to the point. But a lot of times I have found that, again, if I have that soft start, like you called it, and I guess I've never noticed it, but it is a soft start, right? So thank you for giving me that language. It makes the conversation go differently.
Yeah, it really is. Me too. I mean, I used to just go to the point, and just and again, if we're looking at our brain, just saying, hey, I'm just going to talk to you and your husband. Hey, babe, I love you so much. I appreciate how you're helping me with this and this and this. This is the difference that it makes for me. Is it okay if I bring something up that has been on my mind? Immediately, they know that you're not the enemy. They don't have to brace themselves. It's just they're more open, and not just they're more open, you're more open, because you see and register that they're not the enemy, so that's already, so an appreciation, making a request. So asking for what you want rather than what you don't want. Again, saying what you don't want immediately puts someone on the defense.
On the defensive, absolutely. Or you need to, or demanding. I think that those are the other things that really immediately our brain, right? The person that is receiving the demand goes into that fight or flight. Like, oh my God, danger, they're demanding from us. And I think that this is the one thing that we really have to bring the awareness into the relationships, because how you speak to someone, how you're coming. And I love that you said that, right? Give them that agreement or tell them what you need, not what you want. It's so good. I read somewhere, actually, I didn't read it. I was watching it somewhere. And obviously, this is a different type of relationship. They were saying when you are having a debate with someone, a great way to kind of reframe the debate and kind of de-escalate it is by agreeing with the person. Yeah. So they give you their blah, 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 blah. And then you agree with them. And I have to say that in the heated conversations with Dan, I've been using a little bit of that. And it does de-escalate. Yeah. Right. And it does give you another starting point because we come with trauma, don't we, to the relationships?
I do.
Yeah. I do too. I do too.
A lot of my clients do. It can be big, it can be capital T, it can be
little t,
small t, little t, but we collect some things over the years. It doesn't have to be from our home. It can be from our first boyfriend or something that happened to us. We really are wired for survival.
We've been used, we use merchandise. We're not brand spanking new.
Yeah. We
so
are.
There's things in there.
Yeah. And I love so much that you're agreeing with your hubby. And I'm curious to know, when you agree with him, does that also feel authentic to you to be like, hey, I can see your point of view?
You know what? I typically, yes, because I know his way of being a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I know that, so I forgot what it was Sunday. I don't know. That's what it was. Saturday, I was doing something and my dogs are going to bark, everybody. So you know what happens. They just make an appearance in here. He said, hey, you should not wear that to the event. And immediately I was like, what the heck does he think? And then I thought, okay, you're right. And I knew his reasons and I didn't want to change, but I did, not for him, but for me, because I knew, okay, yeah, you're right. And I still saw it in a different perspective, but it was very important to be able to put myself in the shoes of that person and take the information in. And by the way, this doesn't happen all the time, right? There's other instances in which I'm like, fine, you're right. And I'm just saying it to end the conversation. But it is very important, as with anything that we do, that we really create that curiosity, that awareness. And why is it that someone saying, do it differently, or what about this, is going to kind of set you off in some ways? It's important to note that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And then appreciation goes a long way. What you appreciate appreciates, if you appreciate everything they're doing well, you'll get more of that. If you appreciate all their mistakes, that's what you'll get, more of that. Yeah. Really. Yeah. I love what you said about loving eyes, like how we wilt under, like, when we feel judged, when we don't feel accepted, and how we flourish. So just saying, like, you make sense. Doesn't mean that you have to agree with them. Doesn't mean that the behavior, but you make sense. I can see how you would see it that way.
Yeah.
Because we're not the same. Yeah.
We are such different individuals, right?
Yeah. Most of us. Yeah. And you see it a lot in relationships too. If we're looking at attachment styles, one of the things that I see very often is, and I'm not going to go deep into that, but the two main attachment styles that I see, and there's other, is an avoidant and an anxious. So an avoidant, they both have pluses and minuses. They both have strengths and weaknesses. It's not like none of them is preferred to the other. It's just a different response to stress. So an anxious attachment, which was me and still is if I get scared. Right. And the good news is that you can actually build a secure and loving attachment, which sounds like exactly like the journey that you have gone through. So an anxious attachment wants to just have connection, is really afraid of losing connection, want to solve the problem now, want to talk it through, want to hear reassuring words. The avoidant is flooded, by this like, whoa, what is happening? Needs some space. It's like, this is going out of control. There's also a demand for them to behave a certain way in order to calm the anxious down. So they're taking some space, waiting for things to come down. And that just creates more stress for the anxious. So you can just imagine an anxious and an avoidant that love each other. What?
Yeah.
What
no, I see it. I see it a lot in relationships. Yeah. I can watch it.
Yeah. And so just like knowing like, oh, it's not that they don't want to hear me. This is how they regulate themselves.
Yeah,
this is how they actually start seeing clearly. It's not, they're actually calming things down. It's not just, and avoidance get a bad rap, by the way. We think that they want the relationship less than the anxious, and it's not true.
That's
just
true.
Just a different way of relating. That's all it is. Yeah.
And we learn this behavior early on, and we become adaptive and it's not that, I don't want to place blame, but it really is how we learn to see the world from an early age. And these behaviors protected us from an early age. And now, they become things that don't help us. Raquel, I'm wondering if you can share with us, what are the pillars for a thriving relationship?
Love that question. So I would say perspective, as we've already touched on, just your perspective on the relationship is everything. When you come with a loving, positive perspective. And again, it's not about make-believe. It's not about being Pollyanna. It's not about ignoring what's happening, but it's trusting the innate goodness of both. So having a perspective that is useful. Really, all we're looking at is it useful? That is useful for a thriving relationship. So perspective, partnership. Are we, that's another Gottman Institute study that couples that really make it have an orientation of turning toward each other rather than away. Something happened and you just like, oh, what is going on? You pay attention to each other versus, and we can just lose each other in life. That's the other thing.
100%.
Yeah, it's like completely innocent. Just life happened. We get busy. The relationship is great. But always turning toward. Yeah. So perspective, partnership, keeping fun and pleasure in the relationship, super important. Definitely a glue. And I would say commitment. Commitment is number one. Commitment and a decision that we are going to see this through, that I am going to learn how to, this is actually one of the main questions that I would say when we are in conflicts, when we are in a power struggle, that's usually when couples come to me, either a power struggle or two avoidance where nothing is ever talked about.
Right.
This would be, this would be a point where you're like, it's not working. So the main two questions that we ask each other during that commitment is, how am I contributing to this relationship? What does the relationship needs from me? So it's commitment, personal responsibility. There's a lot of tools that goes in learning how to repair. We don't have to be perfect, but I would say perspective, friendship, fun.
So good. Yeah, I love it.
Commitment and personal responsibility. Yeah, these are, and you can start with one. You can start small. As the queen of tiny habits.
Yes,
you don't have to do it all.
You can't do it all. You have to practice. You have to do. You have to see that there's evidence that you're doing it even a little bit, and then keep growing from that consistency. I think this is incredible advice. I know that this is probably something that people who are at a conflict, people who are struggling with their partner, they may feel, is it too late for me? Is that a question you get? And how do you address someone that says it's too late for us?
Yeah, I do. I get it. I do get couples on the verge of separation or divorce, and they're like, too much have happened, especially if there was a big traumatic event or a betrayal or infidelity. I mean, something big that took a toll on the relationship. I would say, the way that I work is, again, in the space of commitment. What we do is like, no, it's not too late. The fact that you're here. If there, and it can even be that one partner has already lost faith, but another is interested. It's not true that it takes two. Yes, it takes two, but one person can change the dynamic.
Yeah.
And it might be that one person is just have just lost faith, but when the other person shows friendship and good intent, and the whole thing changes. So what I would say is, give me 3 months or 6 months.
Okay. All right. I like it.
We're gonna take 3 months where we actually change the communication. You are so hurt. You're so reactive. Your brain is just going to the worst case scenario. So we are going to take 3 months where you start introducing small shifts and see what happens. And by the end of these 3 months, you can make a decision, but it will be a decision from a very different place. It would not be a decision from a place of reactivity, of using the wrong tools. So it's really about, in these 3 months, we are going to reestablish connection, safety. Again, it's not about going past what you're comfortable or feel authentic to you, but you would be surprised how tiny shifts can actually change. So that would be what I would say. And then even if you do separate, you gave it your all. That you've tried, that you're making it from a place of friendship, of love, of seeing each other. Your values might not be the same, but it's not. And I would say sometimes not all your values are the same, and you can still make it work.
Absolutely.
It's just a different place to make that decision from. Yeah.
So good. I love everything that you've been sharing. I think that this is always very helpful. It's another little bit of a tools that I can put in my toolbox as we continue to, relate, work in our relationships. And it's not just with our partners, but with others and even with ourselves. We have to really be clear on what we want and how we are treating and we can influence, like you said. This has been really good, Raquel. Where do people, how can they find you and how do people work with you?
So my website is raquelreiscoaching.com. It's RAQUELREIS.com. I don't know if you have show notes, if we can put it there.
We're going to put it there. And we're going to put all your links so that people can find you. But I figured this is a good opportunity for you to share. Now, you also do workshops, right?
I do. And I also offer free consultation. So you can come alone or together and get a 1 hour free consultation. So we can look at your particular situation, see
take advantage of that,
where you want to be.
Yeah, take advantage of that. It's so important. Coaches need coaches. And Raquel has done some incredible work in education. She's very well regarded in what she does. And I highly encourage you that if your relationship is not where you would want it to be, or you're even curious about this, because even people with good relationships, quote unquote, right? We can definitely level up where we are. So thank you for being here. I'm so happy that we got to connect. I'm going to have to come to Brooklyn. We'll do lunch, maybe go to the spa.
Yes, please.
Yes. Anyway, it's been such a pleasure. You're a doll. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie.
All right. And don't forget, Raquel, I love that you're here. Go confidently, Raquel, in the direction of your dreams. And thank you for the work that you do on behalf of all the people that you work with.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to Casa de Confidence. We thank you for listening, and if you want more, go to casadeconfidencepod.com. Check Julie out on her socials as Julie DeLuca-Collins. And you can also check out her website at goconfidentlycoaching.com. Have a great week, and don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all, but the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business, push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the six-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly, Julie's Mastermind.